Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'd much rather be giving this sermon in shul, but since that's not possible, I'm joining with you in this electronic way instead. And I hope that as much as it's a comfort for me to think of all of you listening to this, I hope likewise the words of Torah that we will share together now will be of comfort to you all. I'd like to begin by offering condolences to all who are bereaved in our community, in the Jewish people, and all around the world. It's a tremendously bleak and sad time for the whole of humanity, and our hearts go out to all those who are bereft, who are suffering, who are worried. I'd also like to offer best refuah shlema wishes for a complete recovery to all who are unwell. And we hope, please God, that the Almighty will send us all brachos, blessings, refuah shlema, complete healing, and an end to this very challenging time. The beginning of the second of our double sedra for this week begins Ele Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan HaEdut. These are the countings of the temple of testimony. And the Midrash comments on this about the double expression Mishkan, Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan HaEdut. And it says there is a hint here to the fact that the temple which the Jewish people built for the first time would be, as it were, taken twice by God as a pledge. And the Hebrew word for a pledge is mashkon. It's as if when the Jewish people sin, they notch up a debt with God, and God takes the temple from us as a pledge, as a surety, requiring of us that we mend our ways so that he can give it back to us in due course. And indeed, our temple has been destroyed twice. The temple built by King Solomon and the temple built by Ezra and Nehemiah. And to this day, we don't have our temple in Jerusalem as we'd like to have it. Why do we need to have a mention of this double destruction of the temple at the very moment when it was being built? After all, in this week's double sedra of Vayakhel Pekudei, it's such a happy thing. We read about the construction of the temple, and the double sedra ends with an account of the Almighty's divine presence coming down into the temple in such a strong and overwhelming way that nobody was able even to go in there. So why at this high point in our history does God mention the fact that it's going to be taken from us twice as a pledge? One answer to this, perhaps, is that God is praising us. He's saying to us Jews, I know that the standards that I require of you are very, very high. I know that you are being told in the Torah to turn yourselves from clever animals into angels of flesh and blood. I know it's difficult, says God. I know you're going to fall. But I also know that you Jews are so strong that I only need to take the temple from you as a temporary thing, as a pledge. I know that when your temple is destroyed, you will not give in to despair. You will always seek to rebuild yourselves, to rebuild your relationships with others, to rebuild your relationship with God. And that's why at that moment, God was able to tell us that temple which you build so proudly now, its successor in Jerusalem will be destroyed twice. And I say it as a point of praise, because you're strong enough that won't derail the divine plan, and I can trust in you all the way through your long and sometimes difficult history, that you will stay true and faithful to me, and you will come back. The outpouring of distress at the closing of our shuls in London, across the UK, and indeed across the world, has been palpable and heart-wrenching. But also, in a certain way, it is profoundly encouraging. Through access to our shuls being taken from us, it's become so apparent how dear our shul is to us, how much we care, how much we miss it. And people have engaged in so many different ways to ensure that their Jewish life will continue, even though they may be confined to their homes, even though it may be a worrying and difficult time. Nonetheless, people care so much and have used so much resourcefulness to keep on track with their Judaism and their Jewish life. I've heard so many heartening stories. It is an amazing thing, and I consider it to be an extraordinary privilege to serve as rabbi for so many amazing and fantastic people. I hope that soon, please God, through our resilience and faith that we've already shown in such great measure and will no doubt continue to show, that God will consider it the right time to spare us from further suffering, that he will lift this trial of coronavirus from us, and he will reunite us first of all in our shuls and then in a temple in Jerusalem. Until that time, let us all resolve to do the right thing here and now. Let's make sure that we are patient with ourselves and with our family members. Let's make sure that we strengthen our faith in God and remind ourselves that he knows what he is doing. Let us ensure that we look out for other people, make sure they're okay, give them a call, make sure they have enough to eat, make sure that they're as well as can be expected. Please God, in the merit of all this great, wonderful mitzvah observance that we're doing even now, we should merit to see and hear good news very soon. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Thank you for listening.